Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast. Yes, we're still alive and kicking here in the southeast Queensland, or Queensland and New South Wales here in Australia, after ex-tropical cyclone Alfred crossed the coast last week. And it's only just this morning is the sun out after about, seems like forever. So I'm a sunshine person. So it's nice to see the sun shining, and we can all probably start to get back to normal, and people can start to get electricity and phone services back on again and get their lives back into normal. So this week's Simply Tarot card of the week is a really nice one. It's called the Two of Cups. It's the peace of mind. It's the card of joining together of two people. So this can be a relationship, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a love relationship. This can be people sort of coming together and sort of organising things or doing things where it takes more than one person. So I think it's a very apt card, particularly here in Australia at the moment, where a lot of people are joining together and sort of trying to make the clean-up as seamless as possible and get people's lives back to normal. But for the rest of the world, it's a time now to sort of look at who might be around, who can be the person that may be able to help you, or maybe you're going to be the one that's going to give somebody else some help. Sometimes I think that, just even a smile, sort of asking somebody how their day is, just taking an interest, can be the difference between a very, very lonely life and not feeling as if anybody cares, to having somebody just asking a simple little sentence like that can really brighten your day, can really make your day. There's a lot of lonely people out there, and they're not always people that live alone. They just don't have that human contact of somebody taking an interest in them and asking them how things are in their world. And I think that's really important. This day of modern technology where everybody's so busy, I think we've forgotten the art of a few common decent manners wouldn't go astray. So this week it's interesting. We've still got a lot of emphasis on Pisces, and no, that's not where all the water came from. I know a lot of people sort of think that when there's a lot of planetary configurations in water or air or fire or whatever, that's what creates the things that sort of happen. It does correlate to a certain point, but it's not the cause of it. The cause of why we had a tropical cyclone here so low down in Queensland is just one of those things. We hadn't had one for 50 years, and then we had one 75 years ago. So, like, they do happen, they just don't happen frequently. And the same for other weather events around the world. I know that there's been a lot of flooding in Wales and England and places like that, and the US, you've had nothing but, tornadoes and fires and floods, and it's just happening in lots of locations around the world. And my firm belief is part of it is connected to global warming. It's not just a once in a 50-year event. These are happening more often, and we've all got to start to take notice of that. So anyway, the stars this week, we've got the sun in Pisces for the, happy birthday to all the Pisceans. It's a very positive time for them. It's their time of the year to shine, and I have lots of Pisces family and friends, and happy birthday to everybody in the Pisces realm of the world. So we have the sun conjunct or holding hand Saturn, the planet of discipline. So Saturn is sort of saying here to Pisceans, it's time to get your act together. It's a time to be structured, to be rigid, to be disciplined, to be organised, to be sort of take a leaf out of a grown-up's book, I suppose, because Pisceans don't always want to grow up. They sort of want to tend to sort of not so much live in a fantasy world, but stay as young as they possibly can for as long as they possibly can. And there is nothing wrong with that. Believe me, there isn't. I think some of the other signs could take a leaf out of the Pisces book and, smile a little bit and laugh a little bit and sort of have a little bit of fun, be a little bit childish sometimes instead of being so serious all the time and never having any fun or joy in your lives. But Saturn here is saying it's time to sort of grow up. It's time to sort of take charge. There may be areas of your life that need sorting out, whether they be official situations, government situations, or legal situations. Now's the time to take the bull by the horns, because you've got everything working in your power. You can charm people with your unamizable charm that you have. You're able to spin a story and tell a good yarn. So now's the time to do so, but you can do it in a very, very structured sort of way. We also have I was going to say something conjuncting the North Node. Oh, the North Node is actually conjuncting Neptune in Pisces also. Now, the North Node is showing us the way forward. So when I'm talking about Pisces, I'm also talking about the other water signs, which is Cancer and Scorpio and the opposite sign of Virgo. It is washing over the rest of the remaining 8 signs, but not as intense. So the North Node is not actually a planet. It's showing us the way forward. It's showing us where we need to be striving for perfection, where we need to be striving to sort of achieve things in our lives. Now, the North Node is actually conjunct or holding hands Neptune in Pisces at the moment. Now, Neptune is the ruling planet of Pisces. It's been there for a while now. Hasn't got much longer to go now before it'll move on into Aries. So the North Node is sort of saying to you, look, really grab hold of this last little bit of this Neptunian energy, of your own energy, Pisces, and sort of work with it. Show the brilliance of what you've got. You know, you may be able to find some breakthroughs here and some issues or situations or problems that have been troubling you. And if it's not that, it's showing you what the reality of the world around you really is. I've had a lot of Pisces sort of say to me, oh, wow, I didn't think that person was like that. And you sort of shake your head and think, yeah, well, we've known that for years. You're just getting on board with the rest of us. But it's been a realization for them. And Neptune is working in this way to sort of clear the fog, or sort of be able to sort of transparently see the people and the situations in your life that you're dealing with. And this doesn't come easily to Pisces, because they like to tend to sort of see the good in everybody and don't like to tend to see the self-centeredness or the selfishness, or people are only sort of one-sided in the friendship. It comes as quite a shock to them that they have to readjust their thinking and readjust how they approach that person, or how they communicate, or the relationship moves forward in a more grown-up sort of fashion. So again, Saturn's working his magic here, as well as Neptune, and it's sort of a combination of everything, that it's sort of turning the lights on for the first time in many situations here for Pisces, that they can really see everything for what it truly is. And yes, some of them will be a little bit disillusioned, but once you readjust your thinking and look at things and say, well, I don't have to end the friendship just because they're selfish and self-absorbed. I just have to approach it in a different way, where I'm not being used or abused or being taken advantage of, but I can still retain the friendship. So there's always a positive to come out of things. Not everything is black or white. There's more shades of grey than anything else. Now, we move on to Mercury. Now, Mercury is conjunct or holding hands Venus in Aries. Now, Venus in Aries is going retrograde. This is not something that happens very often. It's a very rare phenomena. So it is something that has sort of caught us all a little bit off guard. Now, Mercury is the planet of communication. Now, Mercury sort of wants to get his point across all the time. No matter which way it comes out, he wants to get his point across, whether you're listening or not. He'll be there in full force, and particularly seeming at the moment as if being a little bit bossy or a little bit bombastic, or sort of, you know, a very much a me first tendency, very much taking on board the Aries energy. You know, I'm asking you to take notice of me. I'm the first one in the queue here. I'm the one that's the most important. I'm the one that needs my answers answered right this second. And, you know, particularly when it comes to matters of the heart. Now, Venus is the planet of love and affection. It is where we look for love in the chart, but it's also the things where we look for the things that we love or love to do. So it's the things that can give us pleasure. Now, with Venus going retrograde at the moment, it doesn't mean all love relationships or new love relationships are doomed from the beginning. What it's sort of suggesting to you is have a broader open mind. Have a mind where you look past sort of things. Not necessarily do you agree with everything that you don't like, but you sort of look at it and sort of try and look at it in a much broader context and say, okay, why did I attract somebody with those sort of qualities? What am I sending out to the universe? What has changed in me that I'm now looking to bring in somebody that 6 months ago would have rubbed me up the wrong way and I wouldn't have looked twice at? What are the lessons here? What do I need to learn? What do I need to adjust to? It's not asking you to give up your principles. It's just asking you to broaden them a little bit and say, hang on a minute, maybe there's other ways of looking at things, or allowing other people to have differences of opinion. They don't always have to be mine. And I think that's the hardest thing when we go into a new relationship. We go in all starry-eyed and sort of everything's wonderful with the world, and then all of a sudden the wheels start falling off the car. All of a sudden this person isn't what we thought they were. They're still the same person. It's just that we've taken that initial glowing, you can't do anything wrong banner off them, and now we're starting to see the real person. So what Venus is asking you to do here is look at it and say to yourself, does this really annoy me? Is it really destructive? Is it really something I can't live with? Or is it teaching me to be a bit more flexible, to be a bit more broad-minded, to expand my horizons and bring in a different type of relationship, a new type of relationship? Because obviously if I was single before this transit came along and I've just met somebody, then previous situations or the way that I looked at things weren't working. So this is really interesting because it's asking you to stretch your horizons. It's not saying to throw out all your belief systems out the window. If you don't particularly like somebody that drinks alcohol, then I'm not asking you to all of a sudden fall in love with an alcoholic. What I'm asking you to do is sort of look at the whole situation. If it's somebody that likes a glass of wine with dinner once a week, they're not an alcoholic. Maybe that's something that you can overlook. But if it's somebody that has a need to drink alcohol every day, then that's maybe not for you. So it's sort of asking you to assess case by case, situation by situation, and maybe also it's asking us to look at ourselves at what are the things that we really love to do, or what are the new things that we may be bringing into our lives that may be more acceptable now than what they once were, that we just automatically used to dismiss things because that's how we thought when we were 18 and now we're 50. We should have maybe a little bit broader outlook on life than what we did then, because sometimes when we're in our early, our late teens, early 20s, the world is very black and white and we're very dogmatic on how we see things. And it's as we gain our wisdom and we grow a little bit older with the numbers on the piece of paper that says how old we are in chronological years, do we start to shift the goalposts. We start to become more, not so much patient with things, but we look at things through a different lens and we sort of say, okay, that's not quite as bad as what I once thought it was. No, it's not for me, but look, if you want to do that, that's fine. Just don't bring it near me. We have a different understanding. Instead of being very black and white, we sort of we bring in more shades of grey. Now, Uranus is still sitting in Taurus. Now, it's interesting because Uranus has been there for a long time, coming in trying to sort of stabilise things in a Taurian fashion after creating havoc. Now, Uranus comes in like the bolt of lightning, tips everything upside down, and then all of a sudden it brings a stability behind that, because it's saying that the energies that were sitting in Taurus were blocked. And it was like, if you keep trying to shove something down your throat, eventually it will come out. And it doesn't always come out in the most pleasant of ways, because we are ignoring or avoiding sort of making choices or decisions that we know that we have to make, but we keep telling ourselves everything's okay, everything's okay. And while we keep convincing ourselves that everything's okay, we believe it will be okay. Then Uranus says, I've had enough of this nonsense. I'm going to sort of show you that this is not acceptable. And bang, sometimes then things happen that aren't so pleasant in the form of an accident or a fall or a change that we weren't expecting. And then we sort of say, where'd that come from? Well, it's been building for some time if you really wanted to be truthful with yourself. So this has really been affecting the earth signs, which is Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, and the opposite sign of Scorpio. So when I was talking about Mercury before, I forgot to mention that it was I mentioned it was in Aries, and it was affecting mainly the fire signs, which is Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, and the opposite sign of Libra. So we're now going to work with Jupiter in Libra. Jupiter's been sitting in Libra for a while now, in Gemini, I beg your pardon, for a while now. So Jupiter is really sort of starting to ramp up his time there, because he's wanting Geminis to really start to think outside the square a bit. Use this opportunity to get some really great projects off the ground, expand your horizons, do something different, get out of your rut. Don't sit there and say, woe is me, or I can't do this because of that. It's time to sort of really have a good, long, hard look around you and see what opportunities may be there. So this is really sort of shining on the air signs, which is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, and the opposite sign of Sagittarius. So don't waste it. It won't be there for much longer. It's time now for you to really sort of start to expand those horizons. We're going to take our first caller, which is Vanessa in Winnipeg in Canada. Are you there, Vanessa?
Hi there.
Hi, Vanessa. Do you have a question I can answer for you, sweetie?
About my finances.
Okay. Finances is a very big question at the moment. A lot of people are sort of really struggling to sort of make them stretch the way that they want to. The first thing that they're showing me from Spirit, Vanessa, is that you've still got a little bit of work to do on this. I know that you've been working hard on trying to sort of get everything sort of more streamlined and get it into a position where you sort of feel like as if you're back in the driver's seat. And look, I'm going to say, you know, hats off to you. You've done really well so far, but they're still showing me that there's a little bit of time before we turn that corner till we start to sort of feel as if, yeah, oh, I can breathe a sigh of relief now. Now, look, I know we're in March. They're showing me around late May through to about July. And by the time we hit July, you seem to really sort of start to see all the hard work that you've done is starting to pay off, that, you know, things are starting to improve. Is there potentially an opportunity there for a little bit more money to come through the door, Vanessa? You know, could there be a pay rise at work or?
Yeah, like right now I'm not like I'm working, but I'm just not making enough.
Right. Okay. So does that mean then that you're looking for another job that'll pay better?
Yes.
Yeah, because they were showing me a change with the actual income structure in April. Sort of like there was certainly going to be an increase. So if there's no potential of increase with the job that you're in there now, then maybe there'll be another job in April, because they were showing me sort of like a sharp uptick in money in April, in early April, but it was going to take like till about July before you start to say, oh, phew, I can breathe now. You know what I mean? I'm starting to get on top of this, that things are starting to work. And sweetie, it's no fault of your own. It's just been, you know, a series of things that all sort of happened, you know, like one after the other. And as you got through one crisis, you came out of that, you sort of headed into the next one. There really hasn't been any reprieve there to really play catch up. And it's, you know, it's not that you're a bad money manager or anything. It's just this is, you know, the hand that life has dealt you at the moment. They were also showing me around August that there's a question mark around where you're living. So is that sort of, not necessarily was I picking up a move as such, but is there something that you've been desperate, you wanted to do in the home that you haven't been able to do financially?
And
Like buy a new
so
piece
what
of
I want to
furniture or
do,
something?
what I want to do is find something that's cheaper and more close to family.
Oh, okay. All right. So that it is a move then.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, they were showing me in August, everything was sunshining around the house, as if whatever decisions or choices that you make then, you really feel as if you flung the door open to sunshine. And I could actually see the purchase of another piece of furniture at that time as well. So that's why I sort of went down that path, not so much the move, because I wasn't sure what they were showing me. And then all of a sudden they showed me a new couch. So maybe, just maybe, when you make the move, and you sort of feel that, you know, your finances are in, you know, better shape than what they were, that you can splurge on something new for you that, you know, really brings a smile to your face.
Like the thing is my lease is up June 15th, so I don't want to sign on for another lease. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, they were showing me by August that you were really happy, and that was when they were showing me that you know, new purchase of maybe a couch or something new for the house. So if you've got to leave there by June 15th, I'm not saying you're there after that, but what I'm saying is by the time we get to August, I could see you just sort of exhaling and saying, oh, how lovely. You know, I can breathe again. Like, you know, money's better. You're happy where you're living. You've bought something new for, you know, your place of abode. And you're sort of really starting to feel as if you're finally back on the track of you're back in control again. So I think that's where we, you know, should be aiming for, Vanessa. You will find what you're looking for and it will be cheaper. So, you know, let's gear the new job around, you know, the area that maybe you want to move to.
Yeah, like, so about a job situation, do you see anything of that nature coming to me soon?
Yeah, I said earlier in the reading, I felt as early as next month.
Oh, okay.
Okay, sweetie. That's where we're going to have to leave you. Now, Vanessa, we're going to talk with Irene in Edinburgh in Scotland. Are you there, Irene?
This call will be recorded.
Hi there.
Hi, Irene.
Hello.
How can I help you today, sweetie? Do you have a question I can answer for you, sweetheart?
Love life, really. I was just wondering if there's anybody out there for me at all.
So you just want me to have a look at what's generally going on in your life. Is that correct, Irene? You didn't have a specific question?
Yeah, just a general read on what's going on around me at the moment, and if there's any kind of love life relationship.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I always ask if there's a particular question, Irene, just to make sure that we've covered what you want to know. The first thing that Spirit is showing me or sharing with me for you is that there's a number of endings, changes and transformations that are taking place around you, and they're slowly starting to build in momentum. So would it be fair to say since about October, November last year, you've started to feel just the winds of change just gently blowing through your life, sort of nothing major yet, but you can feel the momentum building, that there's going to be change coming into your life? Is that what you've been feeling?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's good. And look, I don't want you to try and force it. I want you to just go with it. You know, like if it's taking a very slow pace, that's okay. We'll work with that. We don't necessarily have to try and push and poke things and move things along, because sometimes when we do that, we actually slow up the process. Instead of allowing things to just to develop in their own pace, we try and sort of hurry it along, and because we think it will get there faster, but we actually delay the process. What they were also showing me was that there's a dark-headed man re-entering your life that I'm going to say was from your past. And I'm assuming it was a love interest, because they're telling me to be cautious. I don't know what he looked like as far as front, I'm not seeing his face. I'm only seeing him from the back, and I'm only seeing very dark hair, almost black hair. And I keep getting this very, very uncomfortable feeling. I can feel my body tensing, as if, oh my goodness, even the sheer thought of him or his name sort of sends you all on edge. So I want to use this as a marker in time, Irene. I'm not suggesting for 1 second that you have any connection with him, or if he reaches out to you on social media, or you bump into him in the street or the local supermarket, that you even stop and give him the time of day. He's one of these people that if you were to be polite and that's all you'd be, he would take that in a way that, oh, she's still interested in me, she still loves me, she wants me back. No, we don't want him back. I just want to use that as a marker in time. Even if you only see him out of the corner of your eye and you duck down the other aisle in the supermarket and think, gee, that was a lucky escape, I'm getting out of here. That's all it needs to be. It doesn't need to be a conversation. That's sort of showing me after that sort of happened, within about 4 or 5 weeks after that, you are going to actually meet somebody who is the right sort of connection, the right person for you. And this man has got much, much lighter hair. It's not exactly blonde like mine, but it's certainly a sort of a very dark blonde, light brown sort of, if he got out in the sun, I think he'd have a few different shades, as if he'd been to the hairdressers, and he'd had, tips or foils or something like that put in his hair, but he isn't. It's his natural hair colour. He's got light bluey greeny coloured eyes. He's got a really nice smile on his face. He strikes me as a very happy-go-lucky sort of guy. Look, I don't think much gets him down. He seems to have a very even temper. The two of you sort of meet through some friends, and it's not friends trying to matchmake you. It's just a group of people are getting together to celebrate something, and everybody's brought somebody else with them, like somebody that might be at a loose end has joined in the festivities as well. And the two of you meet at sort of instant. The two of you really like each other. The conversation flows. You actually find out he doesn't live that far away, 5 minutes, 10 minutes drive away from where you live. He does work outside, and he seems to like working with his hands. He's not a real pub goer type of person. He'd prefer to be home doing something with his hands, creating something, making something. He sort of, he seems to be very happy. He's always whistling or singing or whatever when he's working. He sort of never seems to have a bad day. I'm sure he has one every now and then, but he genuinely seems to be very happy. Look, I think the relationship will grow at a reasonable sort of pace. It's not going to be, real fast, and it's not going to be real slow. It's just a nice, steady sort of pace. The two of you get to know each other. Within 12 months, I think the two of you are talking futures and sort of talking about who's going to move to where and what's happening with our lives. But it's a very, very nice sort of situation. Irene, the other thing that they were sharing with me is you've got to stop being so tough on yourself. I think sometimes I think you're far too tough on yourself, aren't you? You set these boundaries so high that you sometimes can't even reach them.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And it's not saying, what, sweetie?
That's true. I do that.
Mm. Yeah, and it's not saying don't have high principles, Irene. It's saying maybe make them just a tad lower so that you can achieve them and surpass what you were hoping to achieve. And then you can sit back and say, gee, that was good. Look how well I did. You know what I mean? So that you can really feel the pride in yourself of what you were able to achieve. Where if you're always constantly setting that bar just that little bit too high and you can't quite touch it, it's like a disappointment then rocks through your soul, and it's sort of like it takes another little chunk out of you that sort of says, oh, maybe I'm not good enough. And I want to reverse that. I want you to start to believe in yourself more and say, well, look, I did really, really well. I achieved that, and I surpassed what I was even aiming to achieve, because that's really good for the soul, and it gives the soul sort of like an energy drink that, it's ready to go again and ready to try and achieve even better outcomes next time. But if there's constant disappointment all the time, then that starts to sort of erode away at the soul and sort of says, oh, well, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I'm not worthy, maybe I'm not this, maybe I'm not that. And we don't want that to happen. I mean, I think life is hard enough at the moment in the world with so many changes and weather events and everything and politics and everything that's going on. If we can try and keep our soul on an upbeat scale, I think that's important for us as individuals, and hopefully then that'll flow over to some of the decision makers around the world, where they won't be in such a negative Nelly sort of time, frame of the way that they look at things, and maybe, one person at a time, we can slowly start to change the world. And I know we all sort of think, well, it's only little old me, but by each person changing their way of looking at their own piece of the universe, it does collectively gather momentum. And I know that this year is going to be good for you, Irene. You've worked hard. We've just got to stop you being so tough on yourself. So I hope that's helped you, Irene, because we've got to leave it there. So I hope that's been of benefit to you, sweetie.
That's excellent. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. And enjoy your beautiful part of the world in Edinburgh. So that's where we're leaving, Irene. Look, it's always nice to talk to people from different parts of the world. I'm here in Australia, and I get to talk with and work with lots of people around the world. And collectively, we all have the same issues. We might just be in a different location and maybe have a slightly different way of how we approach a situation or a problem. But we are all connected. We are all connected by energy, and nothing happens by accident. The people that phone into the show that get to speak to me or one of the other amazing psychics on the network, it's meant to be. It's the way the universe has set it up. So don't be disappointed if you miss out on the psychic that you want to talk to. Just know that the universe wants you to talk to someone else. So this week I'm going to leave you with a beautiful old song by the Commodores or Lionel Richie, and it's one of my favourite songs. I didn't know what I was going to share with you this week, and this one just sort of jumped out at me out of my list of songs that I scroll through each week before this show, and it's called Stuck on You. And I think it's a beautiful love song, and plenty of times I think we need to be stuck on our partners or the ones that we love, and it's just a beautiful, happy, joyful love song. So until next week, enjoy Lionel Richie and Stuck on You.